all the rest of the stuff. Okay, Boker Tov, everybody. Today's stuff is Tet, but we today's Tet, but we pick up at the top of Ketuvot Bet, so we're a little behind, but hopefully it'll go quickly because so we'll see. Because today's daf, as I said, is Tet, and we've got, as you see, a lot of Tosfot, so it's pretty short. And this section that we're about to do on Ketuvot Bet to catch up is also like there's a lot of like nusach of a bracha or of a tefillah and so on. So let's take a look. So the Gemara has introduced this idea of birchas avelim, which also required a minyan, and the avelim were not part of the minyan. So we've also discussed this phenomenon of rechava, of the avelim walking back and being blessed by, given nechama by the people in the two rows, like we do, and that really was an idea of a minyan. And then the sudat havra'ah, the suda that they fed him or her when they immediately returned, or in the chavai in the street, and all of those various things wasn't exactly clear exactly how the minyan was different between that, the Sudat Rechava, and the what the Gemara called the Rechava and the Birchat Hamazon. But anyway, we will focus on the idea that there clearly seems to be these Birchat Avelim in the Birchat Hamazon. The Gemara, we don't yet know what the Nusach is. Remember, we were just introduced to the Nusach of the Sheva Brachot on the previous staff. So let's take a look now as the Gemara continues. The Gemara says like this. Where are we exactly? I'm about to tell you. So the Gemara says, so the Gemara says like this. Well, we can pick up from Ve'ela, about 7 lines from the top on Ketuvot Bet. Ve'ela. Hadam Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi Yochanan. Mevarchim birchas chasanim b'asar kol shiva v'chasanim min minyan. That sheva brachos is the whole birchas chasanim is the whole week, and you need 10, and the chasanim count. V'avelim birchas avelim b'asar kol shiva v'ein avelim min minyan, and the bracha of the avelim you need 10, but the Avelim don't count because obviously there's a very different role between the Menachamim and the Avelim. So you do that for the whole week. So the Gemara says, "Birchas rechava kol shiva miika." Where do you have a bracha of the rechava, like of the meal fed in the in the street, as it were? So where do you have this idea of doing it for the whole week? So the Gemara says, yes, mishkachas befanim chadashos. If same way you have a panim chadashos, new people come during the week and it adds to the simcha, and therefore you make the whole sheva brachot. New menachamim come, and there's like presumably a new opportunity for nechama, and therefore you would do these birchat avelim for the whole week. Exactly again, right. What the meaning of rechava is not clear. How much that's being conflated with the point that was said before about birchat hamazon, which means sort of at the end of the meals. So let's take a look. Okay, the Rambam, for example, says, the Rambam, interesting, he brings out the whole nusach of the Sheva Brachot in the meals, in Hilchot Brachot. He does not bring down the nusach of Birchat Avelim, which presumably means that even already by his time, it was a little bit out of practice. And he brings out a very sort of simplified version of it. I'll read it to you, or what he says in terms of the Nusach HaBracha. The Rambam says the following. Hold on. He says like this. He says, stop it. Hold on. This thing, it's great, but it doesn't always. Okay, here. It says, Perak Bed in Hilchot Brachot. Ucheshemavarchim beveis avel omer bevracha revi'it.
You said omer.
Omer bebracha revi'it. Hamelech Achai Hatov Hametiv Elamet Dayan Emet Shofet B'Tzedek Shalit B'Olamo Lasot Bo Kirtzono Shanachnu Amo V'Avadav V'Chol Anachnu Chayavim L'Hodot Lo L'Varcho. So basically, you add to Hatov Hametiv, which was, remember, Al Haruge Beitar, a type of a Dayan Ha'emet type of a bracha, but phrasing it in sort of a positive.
So that's Birchat
That's Birchat, yeah, presumably. Mevakesh Rachamim Al Avel L'Nachamo Kifima Sheyirtzeh. And then you say harachamans. So sort of like, the harachamans are really after the end of the 4 brachot. They really is somewhat of an add-on. They're not central to it. Right? Harachamani yivarech, harachamani yivarech, harachamani yivarech. So sort of before the harachamans, you say your own words of nechama to the avel. That's how the Rambam structures it. Whether prior we're going to see in the Gemara that there were actually more of the baruch ataz that were part of the birchat avelim, more of a classic nusach habracha. So let's take a look.
When you eaten something?
Presumably at the end, yeah, at the end of birchat hamazon when you eat b'vei tavel.
Only if they're new panim chadashos.
What? No.
Every week, if they're panim chadashot, you do.
Throughout the whole week, if
Yeah.
they're panim chadashot. But again, whether the Rambam's version is exactly the Gemara's version, we're going to see the Gemara has more of a classic type of a Baruch Atah Hashem set of brachot. Let's take a look at the Gemara. He had Rav Chia bar Ava, like the story of Rav Chia bar Ava. Mikri b'nei de Reish Lakish Hava. He was the cheder teacher of Reish Lakish's kids. He taught them, Mikri b'nei. He taught his kids Mikra. He taught his kids, Torah, Psukim. And what happened? Shachiv le'yanuka, and a child of his died. This cheder teacher of Reish Lakish's kids. Oh, I'm sorry. V'amalei masni braid Reish Lakish. Some say he taught a Mishnah, Reish Lakish's sons. Okay, and Shachiv le'yanuka. So a child of this cheder teacher died, of Reish Lakish's kid's cheder teacher. Yoma kama lo azul gabe. The first day, Reish Lakish did not go to pay a shiva call. L'machar, the next day, so part of the point here being that it was not the first day and still there's going to be a bracha. That's how this is a tie-in, right? It's not the first day, it's the second day, and Reish Lakish is a panim chadashos. Didn't tell us why he didn't go. Maybe he was busy. Not like he dafka made a point of not going. It happens. Sometimes you don't pay a shiva call on the first day. He paid the second day. He was a panim chadashos. Okay, so this is the second day and he's a panim chadashos. I'll look at Lamacha Dabri Yehuda bar Nachmani Miturgamane. The second day he went and he took Yehuda bar Nachmani, who was his Miturgaman. Miturgaman is like, somebody who basically, when he give a shiur and he would sort of say something to him, and then he would like announce it to the whole student, to all the students, or to the whole community, and so on. So we're going to see how he, he's a sort of like loudspeaker, but also he's given a little license sometimes to elaborate, as we will see. So Amalei, so then Reish Lakish said to this Yehuda bar Nachmani, "Kum ema milsa kol kavel yanuka." Go, he said to him, and stand up and say some words in honor, in commemoration of the child who passed away. Okay, so Reish Lakish wasn't feeding him the text, but he was sort of acting on Reish Lakish's behest and saying some words for the sake of the infant. So what did he say, or the child? Patach v'amar. So he stood up and he said the following pasuk. Patach v'amar. Okay, God saw and he was angry from the anger of his from the anger of his sons and daughters. A generation where the fathers caused God to be like angry. So ko'es, or they or minatzin, like no eights. How does it translate? No eights. Not this. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good English word for no eights. Not eights. Do you have it there? No? Provoke? All right. Fine. Okay. A door that provokes, that the fathers provoke God. So so therefore, so God was provoked because the anger was sort of directed at Banav Ubnosav. Of course, Banav Ubnosav in the pasuk is God's children, but it means that the anger is directed at the people's children, and therefore their children die. So basically, he's saying your kid died. It's your fault. Your kid died because you did something to anger God. Okay, right. Maybe Reish Lakish will learn from that not to leave the words of Nechama to his Metorgaman. The Iga Da'amri, others say, Bochur Haya, that he wasn't like a small child, he was a young adult. Vahi Kamalei. And so he quoted a different pasuk. Here's the pasuk he said to him. Therefore God will not rejoice over his young men, and the orphans and the widows he will not give compassion to. All of them are like blaspheming and doing evil. And all mouths speak abomination. And even with his punishment, God's anger is not turned back. His hand is still stretched out against the generation. What does it mean his hand is still stretched against them? So everybody knows why the kala is going to go to the chuppah, very much tying into our Masachet. But anybody who makes his, does nivul peh, right? That's a phrase that we have, right? And vulgarizes his mouth, makes his mouth abominable, right? And says the thing explicitly. Even if there was for 70 good years, it was a decree for this person to live 70 good years. It reverses itself for evil. I don't exactly get how we get that from the pasuk of Od Yado Nituya. ya. Like there seems to, there must be some play on words going on here that I don't get exactly how it ties into that. In the end, it's about Nivala mipi v'chol pen of dover Nivala. So anyway, which is also, by the way, fascinating because it focuses on the woman, right? I mean, often the Gemara is much more concerned about the fact that men are always sort of, having sexual thoughts, doesn't tend to be sort of focused on that or acknowledge that so much for the women. So here it says that everybody knows why the kala is going to the chuppah, and everybody knows why the chassan is going to the chuppah, right? Everybody's thinking, so, again, it's like very much from the male perspective here. So maybe men more like, it's more titillating to speak about the woman is going to be having sex and speaking about them going, the man. I don't know, but I think it's fascinating that it focuses on the fact that they're talking about the woman and not the man. Anyway,
play on words either in Yehud or in Dad.
I don't know. Yado nituya. Yeah, there's got to be some play on words going on with Yado nituya. I don't know if the art scroll or Steinsaltz suggests something, but there's got to be some way it's linking it in. Anyway, so that was a little bit of a digression. That wasn't exactly the point of this Meturgaman, but it's an interesting tie into our Masechet. Anyway, so Bekitzer, he basically said, yeah, this is a terrible thing that happened. It must be that you've done some terrible stuff. Yeah. By the way, it should be acknowledged, we can all say this, oh my God, this is so absurd and whatever, but people say pretty stupid things at a shiva call, and there are definitely people that do not. I mean, most people have really good intentions, but like there's some people that moms don't know what to say, and they'll say stupid things that maybe don't get at the degree of obviously wrong as this, but there definitely will be people that say very, very painful and harmful things, trying to be good, with good intentions. Okay, so anyway, so the Gemara says also in so the Gemara says he was coming to console him, and in the end he's causing him this pain and anguish. So the Gemara says, no, no. Here's what he meant to say. You are so chashuv that you were punished for the sins of the generation. So it wasn't just you; it's dur sheminatzin lakadosh baruch hu, right? So it's everybody's fault, but you are of such a high madrega that you're the one that suffers for the generation. So, all right. So the point being that even if that was what he was trying to say, that doesn't mean that it's the right thing to say. So it's again an excellent example of somebody who thinks they're saying the right thing, and I mean, look, a classic example is somebody is suffering the loss of a small child, and it's like, oh, God doesn't give you anything you can't bear, or I'm sure you'll have other children, you'll move on, or whatever. People say these things, and they're completely terrible and they're devastating. So people don't know, and they say things that they think are well intentioned. Okay, so now the Gemara continues. Although it would be nice if the Gemara was a little more critical of even this teretz. Anyway, Adara. So the Gemara says like this: It gets better now. Okay, so then Reish Lakish said to him, now say things in praise of God, now that you're done with that nechama. What? Yeah, exactly. So Gemara does not make it sound like Reish Lakish was displeased. The Gemara just voiced its own critique of it. So Patach Amar, Hela Gadol Berov Gadlo Adir Chazak Berov Noraot Mechayei Metim B'ma Maro Seged Olot Arein Seker. So God is sort of wondrous and all powerful, and the key word there being Mechayei Metim. V'niflaot Arein Mispar Baruch Ata Hashem Mechayei HaMetim. Okay, so here's a Baruch Ata Hashem bracha, and it's Mechayei HaMetim in the context of a general praise of God, but obviously highly relevant to a Beit Avel. Amarle kum ema milsa keneged avelim. Now say something in honor of the for the mourners. So this is what?
What was that bracha?
So the other Mechayei HaMetim, that was in the context of praising God. Obviously, all of this is because of the mourning, but it's in the context of saying it's praising God. God.
Okay, fine. I thought the Birkat Avelim actually.
Well, we'll see. There's a series of brachas. Okay, let's see what all the brachas are. Now say something to sort of the mourners, and we'll see how this is different than the other words. But the other words were like why the kid died or something about the kid. Like so here let's see it's directly about the Avelim. Let's see what it's about. Our brethren who are trampled down with mourning. Think about it, investigate it. This is the way of all flesh. This is something that's always been this way. This is a path already from the 6 days of creation. Rabim shatu, Rabim yishtu. Many have drunk from these waters, and many will drink from the waters. Of having to be a mourner. Like happened to the earlier ones, so will happen to the later ones. So I'm sorry, I said Kimishte Rishonim, thank you. Kach Mishteh Achronim, thank you. Like the drinking of the earlier, so the drinking of the later, this has happened in past generations, it'll happen in future. You're not alone in this. This is the way of the world. The master of consolations should console you. Baruch Menachem Avelim. Blessed is God who is Menachem Avelim. So it's words of consolation, like this is the way somehow this is a natural way of the world. So obviously when bad things happen to you, you feel that God is against you and they're all happening to you and you're being singled out. So somehow acknowledging that this is a natural occurrence in the way of our world maybe helps to put things in some type of a perspective. And then ends with the fact that God, you should have nechama, God should be menachem you. So that's very different than the earlier thing, which somehow spoke directly about the death of the person, which was not so successful in being a nechama.
It's probably something said more often. I mean, it seems very poetic.
I know. No, but actually, that's presumably why his job as a maturgaman was, in order to come up with these types of things. But maybe he said these things commonly. I don't know. Yes, these things to be very much stylized brachot and things that presumably he would have said. But did everybody say these brachot? It doesn't sound that way. It sounds like he was giving a little bit of latitude to his maturgaman, right? So it seems like as opposed to when the Gemara said, "What is the birchat chatanim?" and gave a fixed text, here it seems like the birchat avelim was allowed to be more flexible. Like maybe we're supposed to end with, have a series of brachot. One ended with mechayei metim, one ended with menachem avelim. But what you exactly said in the text maybe was more flexible. So that would be a really interesting way of balancing our experience of nichum avelim, right, with a type of a liturgy and making it somewhat of a flexible or shapeable liturgy, with with a certain structure associated with it. So that's what it sort of seems we were dealing with. So you had but the first one, which was not a baruch atah, that was about the person who had died.
But this is about nichum avelim. Just like it seems like they were just sitting there and he was saying it.
Right. No, you mean it wasn't? Yeah, this is not clear that it's connected to Birchat Hamazon. That is correct.
And also, it doesn't say anything about there being,
a minyan. Yeah, but that might be because we said that already. But that's true. This is the same way it was also not made very central to the discussion of the Birchas Chasanim of Birchat Hamazon. It was only sort of brought in at the end.
This is all Yehuda bar Nachmani, the Maturgaman.
Exactly. Yep.
And he's the Maturgaman of Rabbi Chia bar Abba.
No, of Reish Lakish.
The teacher has gone to pay.
Rabbi Chia bar Abba was the teacher whose son died. He was the Avel. Reish Lakish is the Menachem. Okay. So Rabbi Chia bar Abba was Reish Lakish's kid's cheder teacher. That's why he went to pay a shiva call. Okay. So the Gemara says like this: Baruch Menachem Avelim Amar Abaye Rabim Shasu Lema Rabim Yishtu Lo Lema. You should say many have drunk from its waters. Don't say many will drink from its waters, right? I mean, not like it's not true, but why talk about sort of like, like the famous midrash by Eya Sher Eya, but like don't mention other tzarot. Like who needs to mention things that haven't happened yet, that people will die in the future, right?
Other kids will die.
Well, maybe that's also true. Mishta Rishonim Lema, Mishta Achronim Lo Lema. It was the earlier drinkings, you should say, not the later one. So interestingly, Reish Lakish himself said, you should not open up your mouth to the Satan, right? Don't mention, the possibility of something bad. You're just asking for it to happen. Amar Rav Yosef, my question, what's supposed to Kisdom Ayinu Lamara Diminu? We were like Sodom and Amorah. Maya Hadole, and what's the next verse? Shimud Varshem Kitinei Sodom, that they're being called the sort of rulers of Sodom. They're being made like exactly what they were afraid of. Amalei Kumeim Yotzis. Now Reish Lakish said back to his Maturgaman. Now say a bracha for the Menachamim, for the people that have all come to pay a shiva call. So Patach v'Yamar. Our brethren who give, acts of kindness, the children of those who do acts of kindness, following the path of Avraham, who does acts of kindness. There's a pasuk here, right? But first of all, it doesn't sound here like we're quoting psukim in these brachas. And number two, tzedakah mishpat is not exactly the model we're talking about right now. There's other examples of Avraham being a gomel chesed, like the whole hachnasas orchim and other types of things. Anyway, our brethren, the master of good deeds, God will pay for you for your kind deeds. Baruch atah Hashem mishalem hagemul. Blessed you, God, who pays for. I know. Did it say before? Oh yeah, before it did have the Hashem. I don't know. You have to look at the very different nuschaot. Okay, God will pay you back for your acts of kindness. Amalei kumim amilsa kineged kol Yisrael. Say a bracha relating to all of the Jewish people. Patach v'yamar. Okay, Ribono Olamim. Padei v'atzel, God, Master of the universe, redeem and seal maleit Hoshea Amcha Yisrael, your nation Israel, mina dever, mina chera, mina biza, from pestilence and sword, and from booty, from whatever, umina shidafon, mina yirakon, from famine and whatever, right? Blight, from all bad things that can come to the world. Even before we call out, you should answer Baruch Atah, or question again also doesn't say the Hashem explicitly. Baruch Atah Utzer Magefa. Blessed are you, God, who holds back the plague, which basically also means that this should not be a siman ra of bad things to come to the people. So you're making this blessing that God will protect us from all bad things, right? When and so on. So again, was it always these were like a series of brachot that ended with these specific themes, and he just filled in the themes? Did Reish Lakish decide which themes, and somebody else might have said, a different? But it sounds like there here was, at least whether it existed prior to Reish Lakish or after, it seems like there was a type of a defined structure, right? For the person who had died, for the Avel, for the Menachamim, for God Mechayim Eitim, and for like the future, and for Klal Yisrael. All right, and presumably people were able to fill in the blanks. Okay. Amar Ula, Vamile B'Masni Satana. Ula said in Tamsei we taught in Brisa. Asara kosos tiknu chachamim beveis ha'avel. They made 10 cups of wine that you would drink in the Birchas Hamazon in the Beis Ha'avel. Shlosha, not all the Birchas Hamazon, excuse me, 10 in total. Shlosha kodem achila, 3 before you began eating, kedei liftoach b'nei me'av, in order to aid in your appetite. Shlosha b'toch achila, kedei lishot achila, 3 during the eating, in order to sort of settle the food. Shebeme'av, the arba lachar achila, and 4 after the eating. Echad keneged hazan, one what you would say when for the birchas of hazan as a call. Echad keneged birchas aretz, Allah tzvel hamazon. Echad keneged bonei Yerushalayim. Echad keneged tovei meitiv. So we got 10. Presumably it was a lot also because it was a helpful way of, well, I don't know if now we would say it is helpful, but it was a way that was being used to help drown your sorrows and deal with your grief. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Right. Thank you very much. Right. The whole idea that many have drank from these waters, and it's a mishteh, and the mishteh is often used as like a drinking party, or certainly wine. Mishteh chronim, right? That probably very much does connect to the amount of wine that they would have b'veis ha'avel. Okay, so the Gemara says like this: Hosifu aleihen. Then they added to them, maybe because people still needed to drink more wine or were drinking more wine, so they maybe wanted to give it some more significance. Hosifu aleihem arba, 4 more. Echad keneged chazanei ha'ir, v'echad keneged parnasei ha'ir, v'echad keneged beit hamikdash, v'echad keneged Rabbi Gamliel. So 2 for the chazanim and the parnasim, presumably because the community here is like taking care, of the avelim, and there's that sense of communal support. The one of keneged beit hamikdash is presumably like looking towards a future time when there will be no sorrow. And Rabbi Gamliel is as like the Nasi. So again, I'm somehow just in honor of him, presumably. Hitchilu, again, I'm not sure if this is Rabbi Gamliel of Yavne or Rabbi Gamliel HaZaken. If it's Rabbi Gamliel HaZaken, then there was a present Beit HaMikdash that it actually was. No, Rashi says that it was after the Churban. Tikinu birchat hanichumim sheyinachamenu hamakom b'vinyano me'avalenu shanu mitablim alav ka'almei. Rashi says better than I was saying. No chiddush there. That it's not just a time of a messianic looking, but the type of a communal avelut. We're all avelim on the Churban Habayit. So God should also console us for our avelut and binyan Habayit. Okay. But then they were drinking way too much and getting drunk.
Because 10 was
right, but 14 already is a little over. Okay, they reverted it back to the old way, 10. Okay, my Rabbi Gamliel, why for Rabbi Gamliel did they specifically have a drink? The actual burial of the mace was worse to the mourners than the death itself, than the grieving over the death. Why? Because it was so expensive. It created such a tremendous burden. And they would basically abandon their dead, right? Because they couldn't afford the expense of burial. Commanded that when he died, they would have a very, very simple funeral, just simple linen garments. Therefore, that set the standard, and afterwards everybody had simple funerals, and therefore in memory of Rabbi Gamliel. So he wasn't the living Nasi. It was in memory of Rabbi Gamliel and what he had done for the sake of the Avelim. They drank a special cup of wine in his honor. Nowadays people have even a simple canvas sack, worth just $1. We do it very, very simple. simple and unadorned. And by the way, very important in terms of like Hebrew Free Burial Society, in terms of thinking about the, that sense of the commitment to make sure that no matter how poor, like every Jew is afforded a funeral and a burial. So this obviously is not this is an old problem, which still is sometimes very challenging for people. But thank God there are, institutions that really help to ensure that people will be buried. Yes.
Rabbi was a very wealthy man.
Yeah, Rabbi, right. He was the Nasi.
Insisting on only tachrichim was a message.
Exactly. That's exactly, yes. I should have pointed that out. Yes, obviously he was extremely wealthy. He was the most important person of the time, and he had the most simplest funeral. Yes.
So it sounds
burial.
Based by saying Asar so tiknu chachamim Beit Abel. So what happened to that? It's like
I know. Yeah.
Where go?
Yeah, I know. And what happened to the Birchas Avelim and where did all that go? I don't know. But anyway, but here we do see, but yes, and also exactly what degree is this tied into the Birchat Hamazon or not? It was a similar ambiguity by the Sheva Brachos, although it got clarified a little bit more by the Sheva Brachos. Now we move on. So all of that, actually, the Dafim had a nice theme broken up by the Daf. Of course, to us, it's a little bit of a mixed theme because we were behind. So anyway, so that was yesterday's Daf. That was all about, it's very, very nice how it worked out, sort of like almost like, graphically, not graphically, but, like physically, like the Amud Aleph was Birchas Chasanim, and the Amud Bet was Birchas Avelim. And that whole daf was about the special brachot around weddings and funerals. Now we get to a much more technical legal discussion. All right, not taxes, right, exactly. Weddings, anyway, we get much more technical legal discussion around that first night and about why we're making why they're doing it right before the Beis Din meets the next morning, because he might discover she's not a virgin, and what are the implications of all of that. So we really are going to have and that is going to be the whole theme of this daf. So each daf really is a very distinct theme to it. Yes.
Sure. In other words, we practice that. So us to drink wine at the Sudat HaVara for sure, right? In other words,
yeah.
In other words,
yeah, but
is an example. Is this
well, the Sudat, I know Aser, but the Sudat HaVara is a very simple Suda. But no, they actually say that an Onain doesn't drink wine, but they allowed another to drink wine as a way of dealing with his grief. So
today, what's our practice?
Yeah, we don't have to make a point. Yeah, Michael said that too. We don't make a point. We not only do we not have this takana of all these kosot, like it's not like we even think it's an idea of drinking wine, Right. All right. Okay, I know. I'm Rabbi Linzer. Now, new theme. Okay, the guy comes the next morning and says she wasn't a virgin. What are the implications? Okay, now there's two ways that he could say that she's not a virgin. One is he could say there was no blood. Okay, and remember we mentioned earlier, and we'll discuss later, that they had like all of these guards at the door and these special sheets or whatever that they were going to see if there was blood or not. So there's no blood. So that's a case where there presumably is like evidence to see or lack of evidence to see. Of course, she could have said we never had sex, that's why there's no blood, or she could have said other things. But anyway, at least there's something more concrete to either see whether it happened or didn't, even though there might be a dispute about whether they actually had intercourse or not, or whether the blood was lost or who knows, was on the sheet and it was lost or whatever. But anyway, you're dealing with the possibility of some concrete evidence or lack of evidence. The other possibility is not the issue of blood, but he actually says in the act of sex itself, I could tell that she was no longer a virgin, that basically it was unobstructed. There was no hymen there. I could just tell experientially. And that's what the Gemara calls the taina of petach patuach. The door was already open. All right. Again, going to that imagery, about the house and so on that we discussed before. Okay. So the question is going to be saying that there was no blood is something that he could see. And that clearly, whether he's going to be believed to hurt her, no, because there's no actual evidence, but at least to hurt himself or maybe in monetary matters, certainly not as a basis to make her forbidden on him. I'm sorry, excuse me, I got ahead of myself. When he says there's no blood, then there is, right, then we, I got ahead of myself. So the claim of no, so there's two questions here at stake. One question is whether we think he actually really knows what he's talking about, like even in terms of his own mindset, not whether it's objectively true. If there's no witnesses, we don't know it's objectively true. At the end of the day, all we have to go on is his say-so. But even within the context of his say-so, do we think that he actually knows what he's talking about, or he even in his own mind is making a mistake, right? Do you sort of see the difference?
He still be a virgin, he just didn't do it. He just wasn't successful.
Let's take it this point. His say-so is never going to get her killed for an act of adultery, right? Because it's only his say-so. There's no witnesses. But it might have the effect of saying, if you say she's not a virgin and you say maybe, let's say she committed adultery, well, you're not allowed to continue living with her. We're not saying she did it or not. We don't know. There are no witnesses. But based on your own say-so, you shouldn't be allowed to continue to live with her. Okay, so that's like you are bound by your own say-so, even though it's not objectively true. And the issue of petach patuach is the issue. If he says, I know she's not a virgin and she had committed adultery or whatever because there was no blood, fine. You can't prove it. It's only your own say-so, but you're bound by it. But if he says, I know because I did not, this act of intercourse was unobstructed and I could tell there was no hymen, maybe you don't even know what you're talking about. Even in your own mind, that's what you think happened. But maybe you have enough. You don't really have enough experience, and you don't know to actually even come to that conclusion, even within the context of even assuming you are telling the truth, or you think you're telling the truth. So that's the question of petach patuach. Is he toeh? Okay, objectively, we're never assuming it's true. But even within his own perspective, does he know what he's talking about? So let's take a look. Amar Rabbi Linzer. Ha'omer petach patuach matzati. A man says, I found the door already open. So neman la'osra alav. Makes her forbidden to him. Meaning that's the principle of shavya nafsha chaticha d'isura, that if you say something is forbidden to you, then it is, because you claim this is the reality. This piece of meat you say is chazer. Even if it's not, you're bound by that. That's an idea that you have to be true to at least your own claim of what the facts are. Okay, so but it doesn't mean that it's objectively true. It just means you're bound by it. Now, of course, she's the one that's going to have to suffer, because then we're going to demand that he give her a divorce and so on. But at least he'll pay the ksuva, et cetera, okay? But he is forbidden because he claims that she's forbidden to him, because he claims essentially she's committed adultery. And a woman who commits adultery, what? Oh, we'll talk about it. Well, all right, we'll get to all that. A woman who committed adultery is forbidden to her husband. So based on your own claim, she's forbidden to you. You are bound by your own claim. Okay, now so there's two assumptions here. Number one is shavya nafsha chaticha d'isura, you're bound by your own claim. But the other is the chiddush that applies even by petach patuach, where you might not exactly even know what you're talking about, even in your own mind. So the Gemara says like this. So we're going to get to the petach patuach part in a minute, but first let's look at the idea about what the implications of your claim is. So the Gemara says, ve'ema sfek sfekahu. Why is that true? Thank you. Sfek sfekahu, it's a double suffix. Even according to your claim, even within the context of your claim, it's not clear she committed adultery. All you know is that she wasn't a virgin. So here's the double doubt. Safek tachtav, safek ein tachtav. Maybe she had sex after the kiddushin, and literally under you, after the kiddushin, right? This is the nisuin, but she was married for the last, 5 years. So maybe she had sex since the kiddushin, and then she would have committed adultery, and then she would be forbidden to you. Safek ein tachtav. Or maybe it was before the act of kiddushin, and then she's not a virgin, but she didn't commit adultery. So that's one suffix. The intim salom tachtav, and if you say that it was after kiddushin, suffix bonus suffix baratzo. Maybe she was forced to have sex. Maybe it was a rape, and then she also wouldn't be forbidden to you. Or maybe it was willing. So there's a double suffix. It both has to have been after the act of kiddushin and willingly, and therefore, even if what you are saying is true, even within the context not even saying, ignoring the fact whether we have objective evidence, but even if it's true that she wasn't a virgin, she's not necessarily, that doesn't make her forbidden to you, because it's a double doubt whether that would mean that she had committed adultery.
She's saying? Is any of this?
It might, but we're not. No, not in terms of his own making her forbidden to him, because it's not about an objective question.
No, he says because I.
No, that wouldn't matter. It's all because about the implications of his claim. Okay, so the Gemara says
triple something, because he might not know what he's saying.
We're going to get to that. Okay, so the Gemara says, "Lo tzricha." No, you need it for a case of the Ashes Kohen. The wife of a Kohen. The wife of a Kohen, it wouldn't matter if she was raped, she would still be forbidden to him. Or it could be that she's married to Israel, but the father married her off under 3 years old. So why does that matter? Because if he married her off under 3 years old, then she couldn't have had sex before the Kiddushin. I mean, she could have had sex before the Kiddushin, but the Gemara assumes that Bia under the age of 3, the hymen will grow back. So therefore, if he doesn't have a hymen, it only would be because she had sex after 3. And if it's because she had sex after 3, then she was already married. And therefore, there's only one question. Safek ba'onis, safek baratzon. Now, Tosfos asks another question. Tosfos says, but why isn't it a possibility that she had sex willingly, but she was under under the age of 12, and that's basically statutory rape, Peter Kitana onus, and even if she agreed to it under the age of 12, it would be considered an onus, and therefore therefore it would not make her forbidden to him. So it still is a double doubt. Maybe it was a rape, maybe it was willing. And even if it was willing, maybe it was willing when she was a minor, and therefore it also doesn't make her forbidden. So Tosafos says no, because that case basically collapses into a case of onus. Since we say that, being willing under the, as a minor is considered rape, statutory rape is considered onus. So then it boils down to one suffix. Maybe it was onus, maybe it was not onus. There are two types of onus. An onus because you physically the guy forced himself on her, and an onus because her das wasn't sufficient because she was a minor. Okay, and that's an important principle in Svek-Sveka, that if basically some of the questions all collapse into the same question, it doesn't help create a Svek-Sveka. They have to be different types of questions. All right, so the two types of questions are before or after Kiddushin, and whether it was willing or raped. So the Gemara says we can reduce it to one suffix if basically either rape doesn't matter because it's the wife of a Kohen, or there wasn't the possibility before Kiddushin because she was married off under 3 years old. Okay, so that's the prince. So therefore, we got this idea that if there's, based on his claim, it would lead to, were his claim true that she wasn't a virgin, if we had evidence to the fact, we would say she's forbidden, because then it's one suffix that she had committed adultery, and therefore we would say she's forbidden. So therefore, even though we don't have objective evidence to that, because he claims it, he is bound by that, even though, again, it's going to impact her as well. So now the Gemara says, my Kamash Malan. So what is this teaching us? Tanina, we taught this we taught this already. Or a Mishnah, I think. A man says to a woman, I married you, and she says, you didn't marry me, and there's no witnesses. He says he did it in front of witnesses, but there's no witness, because otherwise it wouldn't be Kiddushin, but there's no witnesses to make that claim. He muteres bikrovav, she says she's not married, so and there's no objective evidence she's married, so she can marry his relatives, she can marry his brother, his father, whatever, because she claims she's not married to him, and there's no objective evidence, go ahead. But because he said that he was married to her, he is bound by his own claim. Who aser bekrovoteha? He's forbidden with her relatives because he's claiming he is married to her. Okay, so you see, you have this idea of shavya, that when there's a debate of husband and wife about something or whatever, or man and woman or whatever, and so on, the person is at least, and there's no objective evidence, the person is at least bound by their own claim. So what's the chiddush? So the Gemara says, there he knows whether he married her. So he said, right? So therefore, of course, so then he's going to be bound by his own claim. I would say he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yes, in your mind, you think that she wasn't a virgin, but you have no way of knowing. So therefore, you don't even say kimle here, right? It was just a stupid conclusion that you drew. Even in your own mind, even if what we were saying was true, that you experienced that, that's no proof that it actually is the case that she wasn't a virgin. No, he does say through the act of sex, it felt to me like she already had, she was no longer a virgin. So Kamash Malan, that we don't say that we say that his claim that Petach Patuach is enough of a claim that again, he's bound by it. Okay, it's not considered, we don't assume he's making a mistake and he doesn't know what he's talking about. All right, now the other chiddush you could say is that this principle of shavya maybe doesn't work together with a suffix. Shavya is if I say, this is a piece of chazer in front of me. Or as I say, I married this woman, I'm forbidden to her relatives. Let's say I say, this is a piece of suffix chazer in front of me. Well, it's a piece of suffix chazer, suffix deraisa l'chumra, you can't eat it. Everybody else can eat it because there's no evidence, but you can't because you said it's suffix chazer. Is that clear? So that's another chiddush that the Gemara didn't point out. Not only might he be making a mistake, but even if it's true that she wasn't a virgin, he's not saying she's definitely forbidden, right? So that we're adding that to the idea of shavya nafshei chatich yisura, that he makes a claim, he's bound by its consequences, even if that consequences only is because of doubtful sort of situations, not a definite type of a reality that he's claiming to, and that the claim of petach patuach is a sufficient. We don't say he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, so those two things. So now the Gemara says like this. Did Rabbi Elazar really say that? A woman is only forbidden on her husband if you have like the story of a sota. Like she was, the husband warned her not to be with another man, and then she went into private. And just like that story. What story? So it's the story of David and Bathsheba. Of course, the Gemara is going to say David and Bathsheba nobody was warning the woman, and Uriah didn't warn her, I don't want to see you with David and Melech. So the Gemara will get to that in a minute. But anyway, the point right now is a woman's only forbidden on her husband in the sota process, not just based on his own claim. So the Gemara says, so first the Gemara addresses this Masa Shahaya. The Tispra, anyway, that statement makes sense. Ma'isa Shahaya Bikini Vistira Highway was a story with David and Bathsheba with a warning and going into hiding after the warning, private. Oh, Miyasura. And number two, since when was Bathsheba Asur to David? Right? He kept her out after he got Uriah killed. He kept her. So obviously, for some reason, he avoided the consequences that a woman who commits adultery is forbidden to her husband and to the man she committed adultery with. And we're going to have to figure that out. But anyway, why are you bringing in the whole story of David? That's completely irrelevant. The facts are different and the law was different there. So the Gemara says, Ella, no, Al Iste Kini Vestira. Here's how you have to read. I'm sorry. Halokasha, Hachikama. You can learn out that a woman is only forbidden through a sota process from the story of David and Bathsheba. How do you learn it out from there? Because since there wasn't there the sota process, that's why he wasn't forbidden to David. So from the fact that he wasn't forbidden to David, you can learn out the only way a woman is forbidden is through a sota process. Of course, it's a little absurd because she definitely had committed adultery. Sota's only if you don't know, right? So it's still, the question still remains open. How could David continue to have lived with her if she definitely committed adultery? So we'll worry about that in a minute. Let's not worry about that right now. Nevertheless, you've got this problem. You see that it's only through the kinui and stira process a woman's forbidden, not just through some person's claim that he wasn't a virgin. So the Gemara says, 1 minute. 1 minute. According to you, do you really think it means that the only way a woman is forbidden to her husband is with the sota process? What if there are witnesses she committed adultery? Of course, she'd be forbidden to her husband. So we don't need to exclude all other things. Now, of course, that's not a good question because what he might have meant to say is, without objective evidence, the only way she's forbidden is the sota process. Because the sota, you have a high degree of suspicion, right? And even suspicion isn't enough until you do the formal sota process, right? Everybody understand that, right? That's the chiddush of sota. You don't actually know, but you have, because you went through this whole formal process, that and plus this high degree of likelihood, that combines to make her forbidden. So the statement obviously isn't excluding Adim. What it's saying is less than Adim, this is the only way. So certainly it does still seem to argue that a person's claim out in a vacuum should not be enough. So, but let's see what the Gemara does with it. Having less than 2 Adim, like 1 aid, a woman isn't forbidden to her husband. Ella b'shnei Adim, you need 2 Adim. V'kinui b'stira afilu beid echanami. But if you do the sota process, even 1 aid will be sufficient. Oh, and did we, by the way, forget to mention that if he makes a claim, that counts like 2 aid.
Why?
Because a person is believed against themselves, like mea adim. So of course, the question was much better than the answer. The question basically is, we have a statement that says, anything less than 2 Adim or the sota process, a woman won't be forbidden to her husband. And then we say, oh, did I forget to mention that if the guy just makes the claim out of the blue, then that also counts like 2 Adim and he is forbidden. Right. I mean, you understand the irony of this, right? A woman isn't forbidden except with this whole thing. Oh, but if you say she committed adultery, if you're the husband and you say she committed adultery, then he also is forbidden on you, right? So the question is obviously much better than the answer. All right. But anyway, the Gemara is sticking to its, but they're both statements of Rabbi Linzer, so we have to reconcile them.
Equals she committed adultery.
It puts a fact on the table that in certain circumstances allows us to make a suffix that she committed adultery. And that's also the chiddush, right? That even when you say that and you're bound by your own statement, that may be when your statement directly states that this thing is forbidden. Here, besides the fact that you in your own mind might be making a mistake, you're only saying a fact. She wasn't a virgin. You say she's not a virgin, that means she's a suffix committed adultery, therefore she's forbidden on you. So there's like a lot of chidushim to say that it will have this type of a consequence. The other type of thing that we should mention is, Rashi and Tosfos both ask, well, I don't get it. Why isn't he just saying that there was no blood? Right? Why are we going to the Petach Patuch, which is not as concrete? And we say he might be making a mistake. Presumably he couldn't say Petach Patuch if there was blood. So presumably there's no blood. So why isn't he just saying there's no blood? Right. So take a look at the top Rashi of the page. Okay. Haomer Petach Patuch Matzati. V'tanis damim ein lo. You go to Mishpachas Dorkanis, ain't them dam besugim. Maybe she's from a certain family that doesn't have really, they don't bleed by, they have a very thin hymen or something. Oh, shenev damimenu mappa. or that the actual sheet was lost. So that we can't be talking about. So we're going to talk about this, okay? And by the way, the Tosfos gets into a whole other discussion about what if she's actually not a young woman, what if she's a bogeret, what if she's that she's not 12, she's all of 15 or 17. Maybe a woman like that won't have as much blood when the hymen breaks, or what if she's a mukas 8? Questions Michael asked. So there's all these other questions. But one thing you have to see is, like, for some reason he can't make the claim of no blood. He's making this claim, and there's two chidushim here. Chidush number one is that we assume that he knows what he's talking about, at least in his own mind. I mean, we're not assuming it's objectively true, but within his claim, he knows what he's talking about. And number two, even though he's not saying she's definitely forbidden to him, we add that and we say, well, if we did have this fact, then we say she's suffik committed adultery, therefore she is forbidden. But again, that would only mean the case of Eishes Kohen or Pchusmi Bas Gimel, because otherwise it's a Sfek Sveka. Yes?
In our modern world, I think we're not able to incriminate ourselves. Is that true?
Well, I mean, you can waive your Fifth Amendment right, but actually more in halacha, you're not able to incriminate yourself, because there's no way you can waive that in halacha. But you're not incriminating yourself. You are restricting yourself, right?
But I thought you said that a person is believed against
himself.
Self-incrimination?
No. So believed against yourself only in monetary matters. Like if you say I owe somebody $1,000, you're believed. Not in criminal matters, not in things that are not monetary, and in matters like this, which is about saying things are forbidden to you. Okay, things. I mean, there's a person, but anyway, right? But not in terms of like real criminal matters. Okay, but yeah, thank you for that clarification. Okay, so now we get to look at David and Bathsheba a minute. So let's move on. Okay, the Gemara says like this. So the Gemara says, okay, so why was Bathsheba not forbidden to David? I mean, so Rashi says, I don't understand. Where was David making this claim that she was forbidden? So Rashi says it means because everybody knew that he had slept with David. So that's good enough, like to aid him. Okay. Tosfos says no. If the whole point is, if you say your wife committed adultery, she's forbidden to you, we as the Beis Din are going to see that through, not let you continue to live with her, because we're saying according to you she's forbidden. You can't continue to live with her. So here Tosfos says the question is, so David knew he had committed adultery, so why was David allowed to continue living with her, right? Assuming David was keeping halacha, right? So okay, whatever slip up he had, he committed adultery, but why did he keep on living with her afterwards, right? Because once we say that once from in your perspective she's committed adultery, and we're going to force you to keep with the halacha that you're claiming applies, right? So then Gemara says, so why did David keep on living with her? He should have known that he had committed adultery. He should be bound by that. So the Gemara said, Hasam onus have. No, because David had forced her. He didn't literally he didn't actually do, it wasn't that the act of sex was through a violent act, but what type of choice did she have? There are different degrees of rape. So what type of choice did she have? The king says she has to sleep with her.
Yeah, but why was he allowed to?
So that's the interesting thing. So the halacha that a woman who commits adultery is forbidden to her husband and to the and to the adulterer is only when it is willful act, right? Not when it's a rape. So the irony is, if this man rapes a married woman, she's not forbidden to him because the woman didn't commit willful adultery. You see the irony here? It's all about the woman. It's all about the woman the wife betraying her husband. If a wife betrayed her husband and committed willful adultery, she's forbidden to her husband and to the man she slept with. If she was raped, so she didn't commit adultery, she's not forbidden to her husband, Uriah, and she's not committed to the man who forcefully made her have sex, David. Okay, because since she did not do anything wrong. So there,
forbidden to
either. So that David can continue living with her because initially he had only raped her. He had raped her rather than had willful sex. What?
Except for Cohen, right?
Yeah, Cohen.
What
can I tell you? This is okay. The Ibai say Kol Hayotze. Maybe we'll finish the daf. If it's no more questions, only on the daf. Kol Hayotze leMilchemes Beis David get krisus kosev leisha. It wasn't adultery. Uriah had already given her a get. Okay, because anybody who was going out to war would write a get because they might not come back. There's an interesting question. Rashi says write a get because in case they die, they didn't want their wives to have to deal with yibum. Going back to our previous Masechah, but it says then only the childless husbands with brothers would write a get. This says kol hayotze. So it says no, it's still with the aguna issue. The guy doesn't come back and you don't know what happened to him. So they would write a get. Okay, maybe would be on a t'nai if I don't come back within a year after the end of the war, or within a week after the end of the war. But everybody would give a get before they would go out. They tried to. There's a talk about instituting this in the Israeli army. Of course, the whole problem, it's not a problem for Kohanim, because if the get is t'nai, then if the t'nai isn't makuyim, it never took place. But of course, let's say the guy didn't come back, and then he came back, and the t'nai took place, and she was get, and then he came back 3 years later or something like that. Something had happened, right? He was in captivity or whatever. So then she would anyway. But that's the story. Kol Yotze. So Bathsheba had a get from Uriah, and therefore when David slept, and David made sure that Uriah did not in the end return from the war. So the t'nai was fulfilled in the end, right? Everybody remember the story, right? So since the t'nai was fulfilled, retroactively she was divorced from Uriah, and therefore he had never committed adultery. This is Yishai talking to David, sending him off to the brothers. Visit your brothers, l'shalom, that aruvatam tikach, and take their aruva, take their collateral. Normally it means, but what does this mean? The things that bind husband to wife. So take the gets from them that will sever their relationship with their wives, in order in case they don't return from the battle. Right. So David learned it from Shaul. Tani Rav Yosef. So back to this question of, is the person believed to say petach patuach, right, to make the wife forbidden to him? We taught in our Mishnah. So it seems that we want him dafka to get married on a Wednesday, and it seems like it's not just a minhag, but the Gemara has always been assuming that this is some type of a takana, that we're invested in his ability to bring a court case the next day. Why are we invested in his ability to bring a court case the next day? So my time of why? We don't want him to cool off. What do we care if he cools off? Ulamai, for what purpose? Because if she really wasn't a virgin, then he shouldn't be paying her full ksuva, or maybe not paying her any ksuva. Worry about that later. But if it's for financial implications, why are we invested in that? That's his problem. Okay, so cool off, nesivla. Right? It makes a lot of sense, right? Why should we care? Oh, let's make it possible to make sure that he'll be able to deprive her of a ksuva if she wasn't a virgin. Like, why is that our interest? If he really cares enough about that, come to the court 5 days later, right? Why do we have to get you married off Wednesday night to make sure you'll be able to come to the court the next day? If it's money, it's not our interest. Ella la'osra love. It must be that we're concerned that she's not a virgin, and that she has committed adultery, and that she's forbidden to him, and therefore we want to handle that case the next day, because we don't want a husband and wife living together if they're forbidden, if she actually did commit adultery. So that's the only reason we would have made this takana. What type of claim is he making when he comes the next morning? Isn't he that he's making the claim that he experienced her as a non-virgin, even though there's nothing concrete, but it's that he's claiming what his experience was? No, that he's saying there was no blood. That he's saying that there were the witnesses, the guards at the door, and there was the sheet, and they came in and they inspected the sheet, and there was no blood. And that's a more concrete claim. So yes, you are right. The Mishnah's concern that he come to Beis Din is a concern that in case she might have committed adultery, we'll be able to clarify the whole thing, or at least we'll make sure that, if he's claiming she committed adultery, they don't continue living together, because we wouldn't want them living together if on his own claim, she committed adultery, even if there's no objective evidence. But that might only be something that gets off the ground based on the claim of lack of blood. It might not get off the ground based on the claim of petach patuach, because he might not know what he's talking about.
So he's saying petach matzati. He's not saying petach matzati. He's saying really lo matzati damim.
Right, meaning what is he saying? What is he reading? No, Rabbi Linzer says that petach patuach matzati is believed. The question is, what are we assuming? This whole parak deals with the guy coming the next morning and saying she's not a virgin, and the question is based on what? So Rabbi Linzer is saying based on just the way he experienced the act of intercourse. And the Gemara is saying, no, there's no evidence. Maybe all the cases is he's claiming she's not a virgin based on the absence of blood. Okay, and that is something that is more concrete. Okay, so that's basically what this boils down to. Okay, the whole parak is about he says she wasn't a virgin. How does he know? So Rabbi Linzer says he knows just by saying that was my experience during the act of intercourse. And Gemara says there's no proof that's the case. The case might be he said, we inspected the sheet, there was no blood. And that certainly is more of the pshat. We're going to see there were guards at the door, there was a special sheet, the whole thing. So let's take a look at one more. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Omer petach patuach Matzati neman lafsida ksuvata. Now we're moving from the fact that Petach Patuach is a legitimate claim, or according to Rabbi Linzer, a legitimate claim. We don't say he doesn't know what he's talking about. And we're saying not only does it have the implication to make her forbidden on him because you're bound by your own statement, okay, but it can directly hurt her. His claim is believed, and therefore she doesn't get her ksuva because now she's not a virgin. Okay, now this is crazy. Since why are you believed, right? Then you'll just always say it, right? I mean, how are you believed to make somebody else lose that money? Where's the evidence? Where's the proof? It's just your own claim. So we'll worry about that in a minute, but let's first read the Gemara. The Gemara again is going to focus on the question of Petach Patuach versus Tanas Damim. So the Gemara says, Amar Rav Yosef, my kamashmala, that's not a chiddush. Tanina, ha'ochali tzachamiv b'Yehuda. So if somebody had, ate with his father-in-law in Yehuda, and there weren't witnesses to chaperone, then he can no longer claim that she wasn't a virgin the next morning, after the Nisuin, right? Because everybody remember the story in Yehuda was that even at the period of Kiddushin, they might go together in the same room and have sex. So if that was possible, if that had possibly happened, he loses any validity to his claim after the wedding night that she wasn't a virgin. Because good reason she wasn't a virgin. You probably slept together, earlier. So the Gemara says, Yehuda who do lo matzitain. So in Yehuda he can claim that. Galil matzitain. In Galil he can claim. Ulamai. Now for what purposes can he say she's not a virgin? Ila ostralav Yehuda my lo. If it's just to make her forbidden on him, so then even in Yehuda, right? That would work, right? You understand? If I'm just hurting myself by my claim, so what matter? Of course she's not a virgin. You probably slept with her. Okay, but I'm not trying to hurt her. I mean, indirectly I'm going to hurt her because I'm going to be forced to divorce her. But I'm just trying to hurt myself. And I'm saying I didn't sleep with her before the wedding night, and I slept with her now, and now she wasn't a virgin. So if that's my claim, I should be bound by it, even in Yehuda. So if we're saying there's a difference between Yehuda and Galia, we're obviously not talking that I'm claiming to hurt myself. We're claiming that I'm trying to hurt her. And therefore my claim is undermined in Yehuda. So it can't be la'osra lav. It must be elalav lafsida ksuvasa. I'm trying to hurt her and say that she's not entitled to her ksuva. So in Yehuda we say, that's not going to be accepted. Maybe you slept with her already. But in Galil, it will be believed. So we have this idea that a husband's claim is accepted without any objective evidence to say that his wife isn't a virgin unless it's in Yehuda, in order to make her lose her ksuva. Now, why that should be true is crazy. Seems to be crazy because how can you just on your say so make her lose her ksuva? Okay, we'll worry about that in a minute. But right now our question is, on what basis are you claiming she's not a virgin? So what are you claiming? Aren't you claiming because the door was open, you didn't experience any any obstruction, so you're in the act of sex? Well, the katayin is dummy. Back to the other point. No, it's just saying that there was no blood. Okay, so the fact that this whole parak deals with claiming she wasn't a virgin, there's no evidence that it's the taina of petach patuach. It might be the more obvious claim of we looked at the sheet and there was no blood. So before we end, just one statement about, okay, he says there was no blood, fine. But it's all his own say-so. Why is he believed to make her lose her ksuva? So look at one line in Rashi. Rashi says, like this. 3 lines down. No, 3 lines down. Tainas teta patuach matzati in the wide lines. The avagav dein edin bedavar zeh. The low taina mochachas. There's no witnesses and there's no real, a substantiation of your claim, right? It's not like he says he brought the sheet and he brought the witnesses. He's just saying there was no blood. Nevertheless, ela alei samchinan. We trust him. Why? To make her lose her ksuva. Daminan ilav the kushtahu. If it was not true, lo haya mafsid suudaso. Okay, he would not have spent all this money on a big wedding feast just in order to have sex one night and then to say, oh, she's not a virgin and she doesn't get her ksuva. Okay, so the fact is we just assume now, so meaning like if he makes a claim 5 years into marriage after they've been having a rough time and he's divorcing her, oh, by the way, on her wedding night she wasn't a virgin, we would laugh him out of the court case. But if the next morning he's saying it, right, then somehow we say he wouldn't have made all of this up. He wouldn't have been lying because he wouldn't have gone to all of this trouble. I don't exactly fully understand that, because maybe he just wants the wedding, but he doesn't want to pay the full ksufa. But maybe it's not always an easy middle state to be in, because as we're seeing, once you make that claim, there might be consequences of having to get a divorce, right? Not just of lowering the amount of the ksufa. So this is a fascinating thing, and this is going to be really important for the rest of the parak, because the whole parak starts out, they're getting married Wednesday night, come to court the next morning. So the whole point is, well, what happens in the court the next morning? A, what claim is he making? No blood or petach patuach. No blood is the more concrete one. Petach patuach is the one that we're claiming might also be good. And B, even if he makes the claim, it's only his say-so. What are the implications? So here we say implication number one is she's forbidden on him, not objectively, but because he's bound by it. And at least in certain circumstances, based on sfeika, sfek, and so on. So that's that whole question. In most cases, not. It's only very special cases she'd be forbidden on him. And implication number two is, if what he's saying is true, she loses her ksuva, either all or part of her ksuva. And somehow it looks like we're going to believe him even without any supporting evidence. So all of this is going to be relevant as it plays out in the rest of the parak about his claims the next morning. Okay, so more to be continued tomorrow. Not bad.